Okay, today we're going to be learning how to graph an even different way that we've learned before. Now remember, the other way we learned how to graph a linear equation using a table. Remember, we chose values for x, we set the table up, and then we put the values for x, and we put the equation in the middle and solve for y. Then we came up with three ordered pairs, and we graphed the three ordered pairs. That turned out to be very time consuming. Well, today I'm going to teach you a different way to graph. Micah, can you read us the standard for today?
Graph using slope-intercept form.
Graph using slope-intercept form. Thank you. What is the equation for slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. Now, it is important that you remember that, but it's even more important that you remember what the m and the b represents. Now, I already told you what m represents. I wonder who remembers. I'm going to see if Laretha remembers. What does the m represent?
Slope.
Slope. Very good, the slope. What is the equation for slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. So everybody know and hopefully will remember that m is going to represent the slope. This is going to help us graph an equation in just a second. Go ahead and box your b and then draw an arrow and write y-intercept. You're not going to believe how easy this makes graphing. This little method that I'm getting ready to teach you. It's going to seem long at first with me teaching it initially, but once you just go and do it yourself, it's quick and it's easy. Okay, let's come up with an equation that we want to graph. So we're going to graph this equation, and I'm going to wait for Ms. Wilson to get ready to type it. We're going to, and I want you to write it. Y equals -3 x minus 2. We're going to graph that. And we're going to take a few seconds. I want you to go ahead and draw a coordinate plane just like the one that's projected on the screen. And I also want you to number them so you can know which side is positive and which side is negative. So I'm going to give you, about 20 seconds to do that. Now we can get ready to graph this equation, y equals -3x plus b. Okay? Now I'm going to count to 3, and we all going to say the equation for slope-intercept form again. 1, 2, 3.
Y equals mx plus b.
Okay. Acacia, what does the m represent? Okay. And Sabria, what does the b represent? Okay. Now we're going to write out our steps to graphing. Okay, step number 1. Graph the y-intercept. So we're going to write b equals or you can write it under the steps. I just gave you a hint how to find the y-intercept. We already said that b represents the y-intercept. We just need to pay attention to where this sits in the equation. And we look at this equation and we see where b would sit. Raise your hand if you think you know what b is in this equation over there. Okay, Acacia? Right. And I'm glad she said -2, because she noticed that a subtraction was in front of the 2, and so that was very, very good to say -2. b equals -2. Then we're going to write this as an ordered pair. Now notice that wherever the y-axis is, x is always equals 0. Because we don't go left or we don't go right. So we write 0, comma, -2. And so that's the first We see that the y-intercept is -2, so we go on the y-axis and grab 0, -2, right there. A second step, step 2. We're going to use the slope to rise over run. To risey. When you write rise over run, write it with the rise at the top, draw a line, and then write run under it so it'll look like a fraction. So rise over run, just like we did when we was learning how to find the slope of a line. Okay, let's go back and look at the equation to figure out what the slope is, because we're going to need to use it. So remember, well, I'm going to ask you which letter represents a slope? M, okay? I'm going to ask you again, which letter represents a slope? M. So where would M be in the equation that we just wrote? -3. So the slope is equal to -3. So we will write -3, and you need your pen, Miss Wilson. We'll write -3. But we need to write it as a fraction because it's rise over run. Okay, we only got to rise. Anybody know how we can write -3 as a fraction? Joyce, do you know? David, do you know? Just guess, David. So how do you write this as a fraction? -3 over what? Right. You knew. See? -3 over 1. That's how you write that as a fraction. Now, if it's already a fraction, you don't do anything to it. But if it's a whole number, you just put 1 in the denominator. Does everybody understand that? Yes. Okay. Now, I want to draw a little up and down arrow next to the rise, or next to this -3. So, next to your -3, draw a little teeny up and down arrow. That's going to remind us which direction to move. Okay? And then, what kind of arrow do you think you're going to draw at the bottom in the denominator for run? A side-to-side arrow from left to right. All you need to remember, and this is easy, positive is up and negative is where? Down. Positive is right and negative is left. That's all you need to remember. Okay? And so, let's go back and everybody put our pencil back on the y-intercept. And we're going to use the slope to move from that point. Now, rise is -3. Do you think that means go down or up? Down. Down how many times? The rise is -3, so we need to go down how many times? 3. That's the rise, so we need to go down 3. So Miss Wilson is going to show us with her pen going down 3. Now the run is 1, positive 1. You think we need to go to the right from that point or to the left? Right. To the right, so we go to the right 1. You do that one more time. But notice we don't have any room to go down on our graph paper. So we'll have to figure out how we can go up. Now, it doesn't matter where you put the negative for this fraction. You can put it at the top or the bottom. Just as long as you don't put it at the top and the bottom. If you put it at the top and the bottom, that'll make it positive, okay? So we can decide to move the negative to the bottom. So if we move the negative to the bottom, the 3 will be positive, the 1 will be negative. So M could be 3 over -1. That's the same answer. All right, do y'all understand that? Okay, so this time we can start at the y-intercept. And for positive 3, we'll move where? Up 3. And then for -1, we'll move left or right? Left 1. And see how it forms the same line. It's the same line. It's just going in a different direction. And then we connect the dots. And we graph the line of that equation. Y equals -3x minus 2.